sure you unmute yourself when your image comes up. And then, maybe again, sort of give like maybe a minute, 2-minute description of, what software you use, what you were thinking, what, within that software, maybe a couple of things that were specific to your processing technique. And then, with that, hopefully we'll also have a little bit of time, maybe again, a minute or two for maybe a couple of questions if others, want to know, a little bit more about what you did with it. But again, it's a good opportunity to share all of our processing techniques, what we do, and also a good opportunity to learn from others. So with that, we'll go ahead and start. I'll have Bruce start rolling with, and the way we'll do this, we'll go all the way through one of the images and then circle back and go all the way through the second one.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You're on. Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna have to mute myself if it gets too loud because I've got visitors that are coming over, small children, and they come in like a herd of elephants, as everyone knows. So this is the two images. I wanted to show the images that everybody's obviously saw, but just kind of give us a reference point. So we have, this was the one from Rand, and then this was the one from Dave. The skinny girl that needs a sandwich, as he said it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into these. And what we'll do is we'll start with the forest one first. And as you can see, bear with me a second. So this is Bruce Norman's picture right here. Let me full screen it. Now, Bruce, if you're on, go ahead and tell us what you did. I think he's muted. Did I lose the meeting? I must have lost the meeting. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear.
I'm looking for the chat box and stuff, but it's gone or missing. But Bruce, can you hear us all right, or
maybe he doesn't know he's muted?
He might be.
His screen looks like he's not muted, but I don't hear a voice coming through.
Yeah, maybe he left the room.
No, he's there. Now he's muted, and now he's unmuted. There you go.
Awesome. Bruce, can you tell us?
I can see his hands waving, but for some reason I can't. His voice isn't coming through.
Yeah, he shows unmuted, so.
Yeah.
Bruce, I guess you could text us. I'm not sure why your microphone's not working.
I wonder if there's a way to test his microphone.
I don't know. He's loose now, so. No. All right. Well, Bruce, while you figured that out, I'm going to go to the next one here.
Yeah. We'll move to the next one, and we'll circle back.
So the next one is. This was mine, so shoot, it was sorted alphabetically. So I did a lot. Mine I didn't go crazy. I took and used, I like Luminar 4 for some of the stuff because it's got some of the package things. I actually, and you guys were talking about the new stuff for Photoshop, so it'll be interesting to see how they come up with some new stuff. But the erase tool in Luminar 4 is pretty cool. The replacement sky is pretty cool. I'm really admitting all of this. And so just kind of tweaked it a little bit, didn't go crazy, took out a few bumps and stuff like that. So I guess pretty generic in terms of what I saw from some of the other people. I did use the sun placement tool up there by the tree and then increased and used the sun ray tool. You can see where the sun rays, there were some already from the smoke, but kind of accentuated those. Anyway, that was mine. Mhm.
And so you said yours was Luminar pretty much the whole way,
Yeah,
but yeah, I can just remembering what some of the things were like down at the bottom and over on the side. I can see what
yeah, there was like a bright spot down in the lower left by this tree, and I
right.
took that out. And there was a bright spot over kind of midway up the right side that I cloned out. And then there was some spots on the trees. I just tried to take out some of the distractions.
Yeah, yeah, I like that, and I didn't even think about that, but like you said, kind of enhancing that sun from that upper left direction is neat.
Yeah. Bruce, can you talk now? He is. No, I admitted him. He must be having some problems.
Yeah, he came in, but then went back out.
Yep. So um, this one is Darren's. His is the crazy compositing, it looks like.
So no offense to Rand, but I didn't. It was hard for me to know what to do with a forest scene with just some sun rays rather than just basic color contrast and some basic editing. So I decided, since we're close to Halloween, to make it kind of spooky in some sense. So I don't know. I did this one before I did the girl, and I don't know. I thought it had kind of like a little Halloween vibe, and then I titled it "I Took Care of It, Mommy," and I don't know. I don't know.
It's Darren. Now, who was the model with the mask on? Was this something you went to, or just?
No. So there's a website where you can download free images, and with the photographer's permission, and so I just downloaded a couple of Halloween type images and used them.
Looks like you cropped in quite a bit.
Yeah, I did. I didn't like there was a whole bunch of branches on the left-hand side that I wasn't too fond of. And I wanted to make the tree on the right-hand side be the frame of that right-hand side to keep everything in the image. So I did crop, and then I did mostly with analog effects, the overall feel, and that's pretty much it. Just some tweaks in there.
And analog effects, that's the one that's within the NIC package of software,
Yeah,
right?
that's correct.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
All right, and so the next one is Dave Purcell.
So I was talking a little bit earlier. Michael and I went on a shoot with this girl, Caitlin, and she actually had a black cape on. So I had an idea of I was going to put her in a forest scene and make her Little Red Riding Hood afraid of the wolves. So when Rand sent this picture in, I was like, wow, that's fantastic. This fits, just perfect. So I started out with Rand's photo. I actually expanded the canvas a bit. The tree is more on the left. The greenery is more on the right. I cropped out all the branches that Darren was talking about low down. I just got rid of them all. And then I used a little more contrast. I used dehaze, just made it a little bit darker and scarier. Of course, I did kind of normal edits on the girl, cut her out. I blurred the mask so it kind of fit in a little bit more. She's actually sitting down in this photo, so I had to take the dress and expand it out on either side, and then did the puppet warp so that it looked like she was running down the path a little bit, and then I did some shading on the bottom. So just just put her in the forest, and then I made it a little bit more of a pano, by cropping down from the top so that she looked like she was, running. You'll notice that I took the light that's streaming in from like the fire or the campfire, whatever Rand had done there, and I try to continue those beams across her dress, across her face, to make it look like it's more realistic.
Cool.
That's one of the first things that caught my eye was that you did that when you see those streaks of light and the continuation through her clothing, body, so forth is really, I think it looks really realistic.
I'm no brilliant person with composites. That's going to be Phil here. So, but I thought it was fun. It was perfect collaboration of his awesome forest with a little red thing there.
Yeah, it's cool.
Can you?
All of that in Photoshop? Was that primarily all Photoshop you're talking
Well,
about?
yeah, I started everything in Lightroom and then I went to Photoshop.
Yes.
Yeah, Bruce, we can hear you.
Okay.
Great.
So I'm gonna. Everybody done with Dave? So I'm gonna go back. To
Great work, Dave. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very nice, Dave.
All right. This is yours, Bruce. Correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I cropped it off a little bit, cloned out some tree branches I thought were distracting in the front or something. I can't remember exactly. Then I used a filter called Boss Emboss, and kind of gave more texture to kind of painted in this filter on some of the front-facing trees, and then I put it in into Color Effects Pro and used the Monday morning filter to give it a more kind of dreamy feel. So that was what I did.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that.
And I had to reboot my computer before my microphone worked, and I don't know why.
That's excellent.
Yeah, that looks great.
Definitely more dreamy for sure.
Okay. Let's go. So this one is David Janine. David on the phone? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I just thought both these pictures, and especially this one, needed some more warmth. So that was the main goal here, is to try to, I don't know, I really enjoy walking through the woods and seeing the sun rays and late in the afternoon or early in the morning or whatever. So, and that's kind of how I remember that thing. It's been a while since I've been up there. I spent did several things in Color Effects Pro. I really, of all the Nik tools, I think that's the one I use the most, and with the idea primarily of warming up the image and perhaps in enhancing the contrast a little bit. So one of those I used was the Glamour Glow, and interestingly, I didn't use that on the Glamorous model. I used it here instead. But that kind of warms things up and gives kind of that soft focus, glowing effect there. There's also a sunlight filter too that I used, and one of the there's like half a dozen different contrast filters. I believe it was tonal contrast I used in this, where you can adjust the contrast depending on the intensity or how bright it is. I also took it into Photoshop, and I still wanted to warm up in those sunbeams and make them a little brighter. So I used a luminosity mask in Photoshop to highlight the sunbeams, and did a little bit there to kind of bring those out. And also some of those rocks in the lower right, I kind of lightened them up a little bit to show the sunlight on those, and also some of the red and the green and the trees up there too. So that's about it for that one.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I really like those pops of orange on the trees in the way back. That's cool.
Yeah.
those were nice. As is the whole image, except for maybe the extra branches in the upper left, and I really didn't have time to mess with those.
Well, the tricky thing is some are in the sunlight and some aren't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, great job, Dave.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, and then this one is Jim Ritzma. Jim, do not see him on the call. We can enjoy it for a minute.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's see. That's Crystal, but that's sorry. This is Crystal's.
Of course it is.
Crystal, if you can get on and talk to us, please.
A second, there you go.
There you go. We can hear you.
This forest picture was lovely, but I felt it needed some wildlife. So
That's great.
It's really cool, and I know everybody. We were talking about it earlier. Dave cut her leg, sent her a picture with her feet cut off, so he couldn't put her standing on a snowboard or anything.
I
Yeah,
like how
you found the
you used
perfect-
both.
Putting her, the way she's sitting on that rock looks natural. You found a good way to put that.
And that's a great job of putting her hand on that lion. I mean, that is
Is she the Lion King and not the Tiger King?
That's great, Crystal.
very nice.
Yeah, that's
Super
clever.
funny.
That's very good.
That is storytelling there, Crystal.
I think the lion looks tranquilized.
He does look complacent, doesn't he?
here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
now it's coming through. Yeah.
Sorry. Did I never have this on?
We heard you for a second, and then you quit. So go ahead.
Okay, I'll keep my hands away. I removed the twigs, added the model, extracted her, and then added the lion. I used puppet work to kind of move her hand a little bit so it looked like she was petting the lion. And Illuminar to do a dreamy overlay and added a frame. And I think I lightened the beams a little bit and did a little bit of shadowing on the right-hand corner. That's it. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. 17 layers later, right?
No, that looks great, and like I say, on the creativity side of it, and we were talking earlier about trying to put her into this scene, and it was sort of tough with her sitting, but you found the perfect spot, the way that she's positioned on that rock.
Yeah.
It really looks natural to me.
So is this, hey Rand, is this the correct type of forest that lions should be wandering through? Is this Yosemite or where? This looks something.
This is Yosemite, but yeah, sure. You could have people from Florida come up from Yosemite to Yosemite with their lions, I guess.
Tiger.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here.
Great job.
Yeah, super fun.
This is Michael's.
So mine's going to be pretty boring compared to that last one and the last few. So all I did was, I just kind of did my, I guess what we're doing, my normal processing in that, which simply was, I did do a little bit of the cropping, kind of to Darren's point earlier. He talked about using that right tree to frame that. So I cropped it in a little bit so that it ended there with that tree. And I did the same thing with the left one. And then what I did was that left tree was angled a little bit. So when I did it, I just kind of changed the angle of it a little bit so that was going straight up and down. I thought about trying to work with those limbs, but then decided not to. I just decided to leave those naturally in there. I did crop a little bit off of the bottom. So rather than like what Bruce did of removing some of the bright spots and that down in there, I just went ahead and cropped it up a little bit just above those. And other than that, I did just some, most of my work was done over in Lightroom, just kind of the shadows and highlights, moving those up and down, a little bit more contrast. And then I did bring it into Photoshop and did a little bit of luminosity masking, but all I really did was just took the midtones and put a curve adjustment to that on the midtones with the luminosity masking. And then let's see what else. Oh, and I did bring it into Luminar, and all I did there was I'll sometimes use that for a little bit of like color adjustment, kind of pop a couple of the colors out a little bit more than what's out there in the raw image. And that was it. So again, fairly basic, but that's kind of the way I would normally process something like this, I guess.
Pretty cool. All right.
Very nice.
Sorry, I lost my mouse for a minute. This is Paul.
Okay, hi. So I thought this was a great image. I loved it, Rand. And so thought it had great bones. And my artistic vision was to really accentuate the color and the almost mysticism of the image. And so I did that in Lightroom, Photoshop, and Topaz. So in Lightroom, and a technique I've used before for doing that is I put first of all, the image, of course, what it doesn't have is depth out of the camera, and it was very flat. And so I wanted to add a lot of depth. So I take the texture slider all the way to the right, clarity all the way to the right, and then the dehaze as far to the left as it'll go to where I have a halfway, decent looking sort of misty image. And then while there, I cropped it, and I cropped it into a vertical crop. And then I took that over to Photoshop. And in Photoshop, I took some of the branches out on the left, upper left. I know some have taken more out. I felt like some of them could stay, that was not a big deal. But yeah, some of them had definitely distractions. And in the upper right-hand corner where the sky was peeking through the top of the trees, it was way too light. So I burned those areas. I still had that big rock in here, even though I cropped this vertically, and I cropped the tree out. I debated on the far left because, like Darren and Michael, at first my thought was to frame it, and then I decided to just take it out.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
I was on the wrong screen.
Yeah, and then there was still some of that rock on the, and I wanted to keep that path in. I love the path. So I just did some content aware fill off that rock. And then the last thing I did was I took it into Topaz. I think I went to impression and used one of the presets, but usually I'll only do the presets at about 30% opacity, 30 to 40, so it doesn't go overboard. And, this is purposely, quote unquote, oversaturated, and because it just, to me, it's just artistic. It's not, to me, it's not meant, or at least for me, my artistic vision was not as a realistic scene. So that was it.
Cool. Looks good.
Yeah, I like that. The text, it's nice.
Okay.
I really like that you made that vertical with the trees. It really made it very interesting.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, thanks.
This is Paul Rendoni. Peter, I'm sorry. Peter, Paul, and Mary. Peter, can you hear? Can you talk?
He's unmuted, but I don't hear him.
Yeah. Having audio issues tonight.
And we just have his.
This was the meeting you had to pay attention to because everything's random. Get another minute. Don't see any activity here.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense for him to do the same thing that Bruce Norman did, is click
Very
power
moody.
and re-enter.
Yeah, it's a really interesting take on this. I really like this.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's just the opposite of the vertical crop is making a low panel. That's really
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, that is a neat. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Art. This is Rand. Zoom it up.
Yeah, so I probably overdid this one a little bit, but I don't know, when I first took this photo, I processed it a bunch of different ways, and so, but for this, I took it and reprocessed it all over again. I realized that the branches on the left are kind of distracting, kind of, they kind of, I wish they weren't there, but I like how the light was kind of hitting the edges at the bottoms of some of them. So I cropped the tree out on the left and just made just took one of them and put it right in the corner to lead into the photo. Cropped the right-hand side to the tree. I did most everything in Lightroom, and then I actually, depending on what I'm doing with the photo, depends on what I do with it next, but I took it into Snapseed because I use Snapseed for healing, taking out some things that I don't like. I like the way Snapseed works with its healing features and some of the tonal contrast that Snapseed has as well. But I tried to accentuate the light beams and kind of accentuate what I really liked about the scene, besides the light beams, was the tones in the trees, the different tones from darks to lights and everything in between. I wish that the branches weren't there, but there was really no way of getting around them in this particular scene, given what was there's road on the left-hand side, and there wasn't much of a perspective to go through. But I mainly use Lightroom and Snapseed.
Rand, real quick, when you mentioned Snapseed,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it on, like the app on the phone. I didn't even know, do they have a?
No, so my editing workflow is almost 100% mobile.
Really?
Through iPad. Yeah, through iPad. I use my iPad Pro or my iPad Mini. So everything goes into Lightroom on my iPad at first, and then I pull it into, it depends on what I'm doing with it. Like I said, if I'm just posting it to social media, I'll go into Snapseed. If I'm printing it, then I'll take it into Photoshop and use, some of the Nik software in Photoshop to do some things. But, but my workflow compared to like Steven's is completely based on desktop, and mine is almost 100, it's probably 98% mobile workflow.
Okay.
So I use Snapseed on my iPad and my iPad Mini. Yeah.
Right. No, that's great. And first of all, I was going to say, great image anyways that you captured. Thanks for sharing it with us all. And as I recall, I think you mentioned that the light streaks, that there was like some like light smoke or something coming from.
Yeah, we were at tunnel vision doing some really early morning shots of the fog rolling across the valley. We're going back to camp, and we turned around a corner and saw this scene, and kind of pulled the car over on the side of the road as much as we could, and just got our tripods out in the road and watched each other's backs. And but yeah, there was a campsite to the left of this, a big camp area that the smoke was rolling in. So I just liked the light beams. We also got a lot of photos of the road to the left of this, with the light beams coming across the road, which was really nice. But
well, again, thank you. I mean, great capture and great eye and seeing now.
It's really fun to see what other people do, with an image. I like the image. I process it totally different. My first time around, I left some area to the right, but I cloned a lot of stuff out. So it was just interesting to see. I think this is 2 years ago when I took it. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, good job.
All right, let's see. What's next is Ray Kello. Ray? I do not see him in the list, so we'll
I don't think it's, yeah. I don't see.
Just enjoy it. All right, and this one, oh, that was the original, sorry. That slipped in there. Stephen, a black and white.
Yeah, I don't think Steven's on tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but he did everything in Lightroom on the photo, and did a black and white version of it.
Definitely different in black and white.
Yeah, when I originally did it, I did it in black and white and color. Yeah, I like the black and white.
So I see Peter is back on. Peter, is your audio working? We can't hear you if you're talking.
It looks like he went out and then back in, but I can.
Yeah, and it doesn't show him as muted.
Yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. I had to reboot my machine.
Okay. Oh, he left. So Peter, you might try rebooting your. I'll send him a message. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's see.
There's something there that he was connecting to audio, so maybe he wasn't.
Let's see if he gets on there.
Oh, he's coming in through another line. He just got to.
All right. Yeah, I'm finally here. Had a failure on my PC.
Okay.
Let's see. I think. Let me get you there. I'll just do this one. Yep. There we go.
Sorry about that, everyone. So I went dark and moody, and I looked at the whole photo, and for me, I kind of looked at that path as sort of the topic. So I kind of tried to highlight the path and create a story around it, which was basically going from a warm and comfortable place to a cold and dark place. So I used Lightroom for quite a bit of my processing, and then really kind of played up on changing the temperature from one side of the photo to the other photo to kind of make that mood change along the way. Then I brought it into Photoshop and did some light luminosity masking on it, and then ran it into Nik Effects and used this filter called Midnight, and then which really adds this kind of dreamy haze to it. It does make it quite dark, however, so I just changed the opacity down to maybe 50 or 60%, something like that, just enough that you could kind of still see what was going on, but kind of carried that real dreamy, welcome to the haunted forest kind of vibe. And that's all I did.
I really, really like this. I think the effect is really cool, and the horizontal crop is great. And I love the mood.
Yeah, and I kind of have that sort of strong light on the left side, and I went to almost total darkness on the right, just to kind of take you down that journey.
No, it's really, really cool. It's what you can take a photo and how different you can make it. I like this. I would buy this from you.
I have to speak to you can speak to the photos owner.
Sold.
Yeah.
And to Dave Purcell pointed out earlier too, this one followed, I think the one that was right before it when we first were rolling this through was a vertical composition, and then this one came horizontal, and both of them look great, and both of them are completely different.
Yeah.
Different images, right? And
yeah, they do totally change it.
Right, and the fact that, like you said, you wanted to emphasize that path. You saw that as being a big feature here. And in the vertical, it doesn't, it's there, but it's not as significant. And here, it really is a big part of this.
Yeah, I think it was just a really interesting idea to try and go from warm to cool in the same image.
Yeah, usually that's a no-no, but I thought it worked well with with the light and the shade.
Yeah, I think it does.
So, anyways, I had fun with it. I looked at those branches that were up above and kind of maybe going with more of the larger composition, and then I saw the branches there. The branches kind of distracted from looking at the path visually, so I said, well, let's just stay low and keep it all about what's going on down at ground level.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I wish those branches weren't there in the first place.
Okay. Very cool. Let's see. Okay, so now that was the last of the forest scene. Sorry, I keep losing my mouth. I got too many.
Hey, you didn't show mine.
Where?
Black and white.
Did you see it?
No. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, that might be it.
That's the.
Black and white with a frame.
I've seen it.
Was it submitted as exhibition in the exhibition?
Well, I pulled everything in.
Pulled everything in. Okay. Is that a black and white? The one.
I thought I did it right.
Hang on a sec.
Who knows?
I'm going to move this over here.
Just cut me out of the competition. I know, Bruce.
That's how it is. Oh, shoot. Bear with me. I got to find out.
For everyone else.
Nope, I don't want to do it. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, show me the finder. I'm trying to find it in Finder, but it's there we go.
Right there. Let's see. Where is it? Did I know?
There it is.
That's my girl picture.
But I don't. Yeah. So that's your girl.
Why isn't that there? It's called. I don't know what it's called. Hold on. It's called First Light. I got a confirmation on it. I can just show it to you if you want.
Yeah, share your screen. I'll stop sharing. You can share.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't come in. All right, you gotta enable me, I think.
No way. I'll make you a co-host. I'm giving you power.
That's right.
That's it. There goes the meeting, folks.
Yep. Prepare yourselves. Share screen. I'm going to go here and here. See if I can make that bigger.
Yeah, if you hit F, you can get full screen. Maybe not. I was having problems with mine, then it worked.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So I would just say, thanks to Rand, it was a pretty challenging image. I mean, I think I went through 2 or 3 ideas before I settled on something. So appreciate that, making me use my brain a little bit. So I pretty much went into Silver Effects, and I did a little bit of, I went into Topaz Studio and did a little bit of, I'm trying to think of what it's called, Liquify, just a little bit. You know, so that you can see that tree right in the middle is a little bit smoother than I think in the original. And then I went into Silver Effects, and I was just trying to find one of the effects that really highlighted the light rays. And then I just went back into Lightroom and did a little bit of brushing, some textures, and I think I opened up some of the back with some lighten the shadows a little bit. And then just threw a matte on it. But I mean, I went through a couple of ideas, and I cropped it a little bit. I think one of my first ideas was, you know, oh, I'm just going to clone out all those branches on top. And that lasted about 1 minute. And I said, that's going to be impossible. So I just moved it in a little from the left, and I came up from the bottom to kind of get rid of some of that dirt that was down there.
All right. Well, sorry we skipped.
Yeah, that looks good. And in the so you said Silver Effects Pro was where you did most of and kind of looking at some of their presets and so forth. So
yeah,
and you mentioned one of the ones, so probably one of the ones that has a lot of, I'm trying to think if it's like contrast and structure or something like that. But it looks like you really got it to the top.
Yeah, it might have been actually one of the like. I'm sure if I open it again, I can find the exact one, but I think it was one of the just kind of a balanced HDR, and I might have backed it off a little bit just to not make it so crunchy.
I really like the mat around there. I mean, the presentation is excellent. I mean, it just, with how contrasty you made the photo, the mat on this fits perfectly. It's great.
Right.
Thanks. I try to pick one of the colors for the key line, the keystroke right out of the picture, and then I just thought black was a good balance.
I'm actually surprised at how enhanced it makes this photo look with that mat.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It does help it.
Thank you. And I don't know why it didn't make it into the, I think Bruce deleted it, but
I did. No, I don't know. I must have just missed it.
But again, it was a really challenging photo. There was a lot of ways to go with it. So it was a really nice pick. Thanks, Rand.
Yeah, well, I thought that it had a bunch of different crop possibilities and you know, different things. So I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, it's a good black and white. Because I tried a black and white version of it too as I went through it, but I didn't like mine, but I like yours. So you did something right with it.
Thanks. I started out in color, and I just, you know, the first couple I did, I just completely over-processed it to try and accentuate those light rays, and I just wasn't, I was like, after I got done with it, I'm like, oh man, they're so over processed. They're just not good. But I do like this picture in color because I think there's a lot of colors in that rock, and in the trees and in the forest that really came out in a couple of your guys' pictures. So I like it both ways. I just couldn't get it to work for me. I don't know.
Okay, well, thanks, Bill. You gotta give me back control. Okay.
There you go.
All right, so I'll go back to screen share. Bear with me. You guys got Lightroom up again?
Yeah, Bruce, yours is up now.
Okay. All right, so this is Bruce Norman's.
Okay, so on this one, for some reason, her tattoos, you know, are obvious, but the one with the compass on it just kind of drew me in, and so I looked for a background that kind of related to the world and that sort of thing. So that's what I you know, I masked her out and put that background in, and then I tried to match the color of the background a bit to the color of her dress so that it looked like it kind of belonged. And then I went into Portrait Pro and which does all kinds of portrait enhancement and kind of went to the max on giving her a blush and shaping her face a little bit different and kind of like a, you know, supermodel might maybe. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. I really like the background and how it ties in with the tattoos. That's good because it needed something, and I think you did a nice job with making it all work.
Yeah, looks good.
What did you do on the skin there, Bruce?
Just like I said, Portrait Pro is kind of like, I forget what the one that you have. I know you've got a different one.
Portraiture by Imaginonics.
Yeah, so this is the same sort of thing, and it has all kinds of you know, sliders for. So I did lighting on the face, and then I did some blush on this face, and I'm sure it did some smoothing and stuff as well.
Who makes Portrait Pro?
Portrait Pro. Hang on, let me tell you. I knew somebody was going to ask that, and I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Isn't it Portrait Pro?
Yeah, let's see. Let me bring it up.
Is that a plug-in for Lightroom, or is it a standalone?
It's both a plug-in
And
Anthropics is the name of the company. And it's called Portrait Pro.
It looks like you increased the saturation on that compass rose on her arm, the tattoo.
Yeah, I think I went in and the blue color on all of her tattoos and kind of made it pop a little bit more. I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's a nice idea.
Well, since kind of the tattoos was part of my underlying theme, I wanted to pop them out.
Yeah, and that
I actually tried masking out or erasing the triangles on her arm because I didn't like those, but it got to be too much work and I gave up.
Well, that background is great. Did you do your like the masking and so forth? Was that in Photoshop or was that?
Well, you know, so I still have Photoshop, but I got tired of paying the fee, so I bought Affinity Photo, and
Okay.
it's almost the exact same. So I can't remember if I used. So I'm back to Photoshop CS6, which was the last one that you were allowed to have before the monthly fee thing. But Affinity Photo does the same thing, and I just you go in and draw the mask out.
Mask out and then drop a background in there behind it. No, it looks really good.
Yeah. It was fun.
Very nice.
Both of those pictures were fun to challenges to come up with something.
So, I think that this is mine. You might not be able to tell it, but I took it into Photoshop and then did a paint overlay on it to add texture to her skin and do it as a paint, but I didn't overdo the painting process. And then just kind of some tweaks to the, the overall contrast and skin tones and things like that. But I didn't go as far as some of you folks did. So just kind of a basic, just trying to do something with that painting. And then I don't know, I put it on real heavy and then I backed it right off so you could barely see it. But it just kind of had texture to it. She was just too smooth for me.
Yeah, that's interesting with the painterly thing.
Yeah,
Did
I'm not nearly as Photoshoppy as you folks are.
Can you make that effect go to like just total painterly effect, or
You can, yeah, you can
Mask it.
Yeah, you can crank it way up and just make it look real painty. But I tried that. I went real painty, and then it was just kind of distracting. It just kind of made her look real weird at that point.
make her into a Van Gogh?
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was more like something I painted. It was a bad drawing.
How about finger painting?
Yeah, I like finger painting. This is Darren's.
She has a new tattoo there, Darren.
She's got a couple. So when I first saw this image, my eyes went directly to her legs because they were the brightest spot on the image. And as much as I wanted to put another tattoo down her right calf, I felt that might be too much. So I left it, but
Put your website address over there.
yeah, I put my website and my signature on her leg.
She loves
Did you
you.
get her permission?
To be okay with it. But no, I really enjoyed this image. I put the additional tattoo on her leg, trying to match the one that's on her arm. The eyes, I just brightened them up a little bit with color balance, tried to warm her skin up a little bit. And then I tried to do something with the, just put something on the background just so that it wasn't plain. I had tried to cut her out and do another background like what we saw earlier, but if you look on the right hand side of her, you can see the faint shadows where the light is casting, and I could not recreate those to make them look right. So I just kept the same background and just added something to it. But yeah, I loved processing this image. I think I used, in color effects, I think I used the skin softener, the duplex skin softener, I believe it is, a little bit to kind of smooth the skin out a little bit. But yeah, I had a good time with this one. This was fun.
How did you do the wording? Take it easy. How does that? Where did you get that from?
So again, I downloaded that from a website that allows you to download images free with the artist consent, and it was actually on a sign, and then I just cut it out and put it on the background. But then if you look real close, I made the shadows of that match the shadows that are on her right-hand side. So to make the light source all coming from the same direction.
Yeah, and I like the color of that is a nice complement to the hair that she has.
Did you change her hair color? It looks different.
I did not change it, but through the process of the processing that I did with like color effects, it changed.
Yeah. It looks cool though. I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I do like the use of, like you said, the take it easy in that empty space that's up there, and that it's a
Yeah,
nice.
it's something to break it up a little bit. But yeah, if I could ever find this gal, I'd love to photograph her. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah, she's a nice person.
Yeah, I like this one.
Okay. And this is Mr. Purcell's.
So my flow is generally using 3 different types of program on just about everything I do. And although I know I can do things in Photoshop, there are certain things that are just easier to do in Lightroom. So I always start and end with Lightroom. You know, I'll start out with just some basic stuff in Lightroom, like first and foremost, I go into white balance, and then I play with the white point and the black point to, you know, make sure that the image is pretty tight as far as the saturations go. And sometimes I have to desaturate things in Lightroom, and then, you know, just brightness, shadows, highlights. Then I send it into Photoshop, where I go to 200%, and I just cover her inch by inch, taking all the blemishes off her skin. I mean, just, and if there's anything else on the couch, anything, I'll just do digital gardening on that as well. Even in Rand's picture, I took a lot of the rocks out and little things just to clean it up. It's hardly noticeable, but when you compare one image to another, it makes a difference. Then since she was on gray, I thought, what the heck, I'm going to cut her out. So I cut her out, and then I took 3 different texture layers that I have and combined those at different opacities and pushed the color different directions to see what I could play with. And much like that one photo that went from warm to cool, I decided that I was going to make the left-hand side warm and the right-hand side cool. So I actually took one of the texture layers and just did a gradient on it and went from warm to cool just to see what it would look like. And this is what it did. And then if I'm going to do a liquefy, and on her, I would make her fatter, of course, but, you know, I do the liquefy, perhaps get rid of some of the folds in the clothes and enhance curves on the model, whatever it is. And then I go into Imaginomics. I used to do just a whole bunch of frequency separation on the skin, and it just, you know, it used to drive me nuts. I would spend an hour on frequency separation, but in this day and age, I want to save some time, so I go into Imaginomics, or portraiture rather, and then I play with it. On her, on this particular one, I wanted to give her more China doll, so it's pushed probably a little bit more than I do with most models. And then I would generally go back in the Lightroom and do eyes and things like that. But on this particular case, I don't know if we can go in with the eyes, but if I'm really trying to spend some time, what I'll do is 3 different masks on the eyes, and I'll take a very, very, very like pinpoint small brush and go around the iris and make it, you know, like points of the compass. And then to make it look realistic, what I'll do is I'll take and blur that mask so it looks like it's part of the eyes. And then a lot of the models I do will have 2 and 3 different colors. So I'll take curves layer for the first go around, and then I'll do a hue saturation one. I mean, you could insert bits and pieces of, her real eye color, or, saturate it up, or purple or red, or, just, put black dots in it, make the eyes imperfect, look, enhance the imperfections in it. If I don't do it in Photoshop, then I flatten it and then I'll save it and send it back into Lightroom. But if I don't do the eyes in Photoshop, I'll just do them in Lightroom, and I'll just usually do just a small brightness and saturation increase. And then just put that on an adjustment brush and just brush it in on the bottom. Usually the bottom half of the light, her eyes, opposite where the catch lights are. And I also found that if you take the clarity up in a Lightroom situation, what it does is enhances a lot of the little black radial features in somebody's eye. So it's a nice little time-saving method. Then I'll also take the whites of her eyes, and I don't necessarily brighten them, but I do desaturate them. And that brings teeth and eye whites up. In this particular case, then I dodged and burned the hair individually, but you can take like an adjustment brush, or some sort of a radial tool, and just highlight the hair, and then do high contrast, or take the shadows up and the highlights down, and just get some sort of overall different contrasty for the hair. Sometimes if there's brown hair, I'll actually take the hair and I'll insert a color, just almost like a flesh tone, to make it browner or more chestnut, and that works. As I'm finishing the final thing, it's the final crop, and since I had this was just one of a zillion different photos in this shoot, I obviously cut off the feet, so I wanted to make sure the crop wasn't at the ankles necessarily, and still kept the dress. I'll put a vignette on there. It's just also take a radial filter and put one around her face, or anything else you want to highlight, just a final adjustment. So
I wish you weren't so damn lazy, Dave.
yeah. There's an artist. He's Russian. His name is like Georgy. I can't remember. In the United States, he goes by Sean Archer. If you ever get a chance, go in and Google search Sean Archer, and he does a lot of this where if he shoots on gray, he'll put texture layers behind his models. And I really, really, really like the Sean Archer look, so that's what I was trying to go with on this particular one.
Very nice. Everybody's speechless.
Yeah, fantastic. I think I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting that this is a really good, the format of this meeting is really good for learning. And there's the example. I just learned a ton of stuff just on the image, and then your description of what you did. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and when I cut her out in this particular case, I actually took the mask and I went into, blur and Gaussian blur, and did a 3-pixel blur on it so that she didn't have such a harsh cutout against the background. I don't always do that, but on this particular one, it just made it look a little more realistic and softer. So, like I said, the only thing I did on this one unusual is made her more China doll, and I usually don't do that. I usually like having some more imperfections in the skin. You can take that portraiture software and make a mask, and only do it to a very light opacity too, so it's to taste, really. It's a really good time saver. Like I said, I've done a lot of frequency separation, and this saves you a lot of time. It's the 98% solution that takes a minute instead of an hour.
And real quick, and you might have mentioned this, but that the portraiture software, is that, again, is that a plug-in to into Photoshop, or is that a
It's a
standalone?
plug into Photoshop or Lightroom, and the company name is Imaginomics.
Okay, you mentioned, I didn't put the two together, but got it. Okay.
Sounds like Dave's going to put on a program for us.
Oh, yeah, I could if you want.
Great work.
All right, this is David. Oops.
Hello.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, she disappeared. Oh,
Yeah, I'm trying to change. There we go.
okay. Well, when I saw the model and saw those tattoos, the first thing I wanted to do was remove them. But I understand removing tattoo removal can be very expensive and time consuming, so I didn't bother with that. However, so if I can't remove them, well, let's change them and enhance them. So I came up with this pink and purple color scheme there on those tattoos. And for doing that, I just went into Photoshop and used the tattoos as a mask and inverted that, and then just painted the color over certain parts of the tattoos. So, that probably it worked pretty well, I think, in her left arm there with the pattern. On the lower right arm with the writing, I think I'd probably go in and maybe enhance the mask before I did that again. It came out kind of blurred, but tattoos get that way when they're old anyway. So, but beyond that, or in general, I just thought she needed some pizzazz, something to, it was kind of flat, both in terms of color and lighting in my eye. So colorizing the tattoos and then the dress to match was what I thought of and tried, and seems to have worked to a certain extent. The dress is the same way. It was masking in Photoshop. The only area that was really difficult was up by the hair, where the hairs kind of drapes, certain hair strands drape over the dress. But so if you zoom in real close, it might show some of the problems I had with that one. And then in terms of lighting, I just tried a number of things in color effects, and I wanted to warm her up a bit, so I used the brilliance and warmth and the sunlight filters. The dark shadows are a low-key filter also in Color Effects Pro. And that made it almost too dark, so I had to kind of warm up or enhance the sunlight probably more than I would have otherwise. But that also kind of added the soft focus a bit there. So, but I wanted to kind of focus on a part of her hair and her face on the sunlight. I didn't really do anything with the skin. The legs definitely need some work still. So whatever I did with that low-key filter, I think enhanced the stubble on the legs. So I probably should go back in there and fix that. But that, for the most part, is pretty much what I did here.
I really like the purple. It really changes the image so much. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's clever. That's good work.
Yeah, very cool.
Sorry, having problems. This is Jim Kusima. Jim?
I think he wasn't on, right? Or he's not on.
So different crop.
He spent too much money removing the tattoos. He couldn't afford to get on Zoom tonight.
He did remove the tattoo. And he changed her eye makeup, and he kind of
Yeah.
he cleaned her up a bit.
Speaking of changing the makeup, have you seen that the newest release of the Photoshop? That's one of the things you can do is you can put two pictures together and choose one of them as your base image, and then go to the other one and say apply the makeup from the one girl onto the other girl. It's just nuts, and it works amazing. It'll put the new lipstick and eyeshadow, and I don't know how they do it, but it looks really good. It might be in the beta, one of those beta things, but you know, if you were to shoot a whole bunch of models and then want to do a Vogue thing or something like that with all the same, you know, models looking the same, you can do it without any problem. It's really interesting.
Just pay for one makeup artist. This is Michael Rhinos.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see here. So mine is not quite as I didn't go too deep into the adjustments in that. Although I did. So most of mine was done in. I started off with Lightroom, but to be honest, what I did was I guess I kind of feel like it's maybe a little bit cheating in that, but I went into Luminar. They have the some of the portrait work within the Luminar 4, and whereas most of my, say, landscape or other types of photography, I don't really do too much in the way of artificial intelligence, the AI, but I lean on it a little bit maybe for some of the portraits just because it does better than what I sometimes can do on my own. So that's kind of where I did some of the, if I talk about just kind of like the, fine tuning a little bit of the adjustments on the, face, skin, tones, and that. And then the other couple things that I did is I did bring it into Photoshop. I did do the crop, similar to what Dave Purcell was talking about. I cut it above her ankles and took that part of it out, but still below that dress line, cropped a little bit off of the top. And then I did what you were talking about too, is I did a mask, pulled that out, and then I put a textured background in the back. And then I took, when I did that and then took the opacity of it down, it brought back in a little bit of that shadow. And when you look over to her, I guess she's looking at us, it's her left arm over to the right side of that. Kind of left a little bit of that in. And that's about it. That's all I did. So fairly basic, but I did do that, changing out to a textured background.
Yeah, I like it.
I like the subtlety.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's always dirty, or you have to do a lot of Photoshop on the wall itself if you don't change out the background sometimes.
And we were talking earlier tonight with some of I haven't tested it yet, but with these updates that Photoshop just made, supposedly makes it cleaner to do. They actually have when you do that cut, when you do that, I'll say that the mask of a individual, that it supposedly will do a better job of getting the hair a little bit more perfect than what you used to have to try. Or in the past, you do the refine edge, and it still doesn't really come out all that clean. On this model, it was because there's not a lot of loose hair and so forth and that coming up off the top. But, so it worked out pretty well with this one. But on some of the other ones that I've tried, it really gets a little bit erratic as they're trying to capture all
that. Crystal, no lion?
I'm sorry?
No lion?
No lions. I was going to take her tattoos off, but I figured I didn't have enough time. I extracted the model and placed it on a background that I subscribe to Summerana, and they do teaching videos, and they have a really huge library of backdrops like this where you could put kids in or people. So I went and found this old desk in the middle of a, where is that, a forest? And I had to switch her around so it kind of looked normal. So I did a transform and then switched her horizontally. I used a Nick filter fall for the background. The background wasn't quite that golden. And then I added wings, which also came from Samarana, and put in a golden gradient, resized it, and added the mat. And that's it.
Great.
That's great, yeah. That's-
Creative. It looks cool.
I like that backdrop is, I mean, just the depth of it in that is, the bokeh to it is beautiful.
It was fun. It was.
With the wings, it's very reminiscent of a Victoria's Secret model.
It's great.
It says Phil is talking, but I can't hear him. Turn your mic on, Phil.
I just said it's great.
No, thanks.
That's clever. That's
She heard you the first time. She just wanted to hear it again.
Yeah, no.
Great work.
Carry on, guys. I'm done.
Very nice.
Right, and then this one is Michael's. Well, we did Michael's already. How did he get in it, right? I'm out of sequence, sorry. This is Phil's. I'm going to cut him off again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I let's see, how did I do this? I went into Topaz, and it's one of their filters. I don't remember which one. It's not a liquefy, but it's
Simplify? Is it Simplify?
it might be. I can't remember, to tell you the truth. And all I did was I masked out the hair to leave her hair from the original picture.
Maybe it's impression. This Topaz has like impression that converts things over to like paintings or drawings.
Yeah, it's one of the filters in Studio. But you know, I just kind of liked it. It was pretty simple, and I was just thinking, you know, to leave the hair from the original picture was, she had just super red hair, so I kind of liked it, and made it more, it's almost not quite a cartoon, but it's, you know, it's more like a pencil, it's more like a drawing. And then, you know, I really didn't do much to it after that. I just put the mat on it and picked the red out of her hair for the keystroke. Just simple. You know, there were a lot of ways to go with this, so.
That's cool.
Yeah, and again, the framing is it gives it some additional added character.
Thank you. Another fun image. There were a lot of ways to go with it.
Yeah, you're really into some color theory there. I mean, the matte color, the grays match the gray in the couch, the reds match the hair. That's all brings it, you know, together. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Rand, this is Rand's.
Yeah, I'm not very experienced in doing edits on people, I guess. I was going to do something with a background, but I didn't have the time. I did some of the edits in Lightroom, and I finished it up in Snapseed. We were traveling, so I finished it up in Snapseed. I kind of changed the general color tint of it just a little bit. I kind of highlighted and spotlighted her face a little bit. cleaned up some of her tattoos on her hand and somewhere else. I can't remember. But I really like what people did with adding some sort of a background. I think they, needed a background, and I think the image was good as far as showing where people cropped it. But yeah, I mainly use Lightroom and Snapseed on this one.
That's good. So you're able to do a lot of this on, you said, on mobile, on your iPad, and
It was all, yeah, I did everything that I did was on my iPad on this these two images. Yeah.
oh, that's great.
I like that it's not just pure black and white, but sort of a cream two-tone. It's very nice.
It was a little cream two-tone and then a little bit of a bluish kind of
Platinum.
thing going on in her hair a little bit. So yeah, I kind of ran out of time on it, but yeah, it was fun. I didn't think I was going to enjoy editing like a photo of a person but I enjoyed it. It's a good challenge.
Okay. This is Ray. I don't think Ray was on. So he pinked her up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No comments?
I think it looks good. I like the tones that are in there.
Yeah. I like that blue.
Yeah.
Really good color complement.
And in this case, that blue looks like it's not a background replacement or that. It's just changing the tone of that wall, right? Or am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Hard to tell.
Sorry.
It's certainly, if he didn't change the background, he certainly cleaned up the wall.
Yeah, because it still has strong enough on the shadows where those natural shadows were over on the side of it. That was making me think that there wasn't a replacement, but
Whose is this?
I think that was
that last one you're
Stevens.
Stephen? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's unfortunately not on. But yeah, I think he did all of his edits in Lightroom.
Mhm. It looks good. Yeah, I like just the black and white effect on that.
It looks interesting because the most clarity and contrast is in her face where you really notice it.
Yeah.
And then it falls off to almost a hazy glamour glow at the bottom. So it really draws your eye to her face, even though everything is basically the same color. It's like selective focus. It's really interesting.
Yep.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really fun to see all the variations on all of these photos. I think it was a fun kind of challenge for people.
So what I'll do is I'll go through them one more time just to run through them. Anybody can look at them, and then we'll call it a night. So I'm going to start here, and then we'll just kind of do a quick slideshow. And that's that.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And just as you were going through that, it still is amazing just to sit there and watch how two identical images, we all got the same raw images a week and a half ago or so, 2 weeks ago or whatever, and to see how much variance there is. Every single one that you brought up was intact, it was so different. But that, and again, as we went through there, and as we said right at the very beginning, I expected to learn a few things, and I've got several notes that I've taken here on different things I want to now play around with. So this was a lot of fun for me. So hopefully we can do this, and this is pretty easy to do. We can do this one again once or twice next year, and that I'm sure. So
Yeah.
Thank you guys for doing it.
You bet.
I don't know if you guys,
the suggestion, and Crystal for having demonstrated kind of a similar exercise to this one a few months ago in that we participated in. But I think it's a real fun thing to do. Enjoy it.
I don't know if you guys are like me, but I always think this group is a really, really innovative group. You know, there's a lot of talented people out there here. So like, you know, I'm like, well, I can't do something just standard. I mean, I'm going to get my ass kicked if I just did a contrast thing. So I better do something unusual, you know. But really, really funny to know, you know, if you were going to just take the forest one, you know, all of our photos might look similar, you know, make this look realistic and nice. But, you know, you're thrown into a whole group of guys that are just so innovative. It's like, okay, what can I do to not be normal here? It's kind of fun.
Yeah, and thanks for running through them again at the end, Bruce, because it's fun to see them like side by side for a second so you can remember what, you know, all of them were.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody.
And the last point real quick too is, again, keep in mind, we've got in a couple of weeks, we'll get some more information out there on that, but we do have, and now we're all experts on the portrait side of it, right, people? So now we're all ready for this next competition. Again, it's in a couple of weeks, November 4th, I think it is, day after the election, right? And it'll be a lot of fun. Frederick Van Johnson, This Week in Photo podcast host, has some expertise on portraits and so forth and that. So I think it'll be a real fun event. So now we know what we have to do between now and then. So look forward to seeing some of these processes and that show up in our next competition. So again, thanks everybody for joining and contributing to the images for this week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.